They say coffee never sleeps, and neither did the town I moved to, a busy transit spot, nestled between cities, full of life at every hour. A restless crossroads between cities, neither did anyone else. Students buried in deadlines, truckers chasing highways, night owls chasing purpose, they all found their way to Café Serene, the only place that stayed lit through the darkest hours. The town's 24-hour heartbeat. Perched near the woods at the edge of town, the café glowed like a lantern in the fog. The scent of roasted beans spilled into the cold air like incense, day and night. The aroma of fresh espresso clung to the night air like something sacred, familiar, comforting, deceiving. I was the new hire, the newest staff on the small team, despite their well-developed place. Drawn in by the generous pay, the quiet promise of solitude, and the hum of machines that never slept. A simple job, they said. Just prepare the drinks, clean the counters, keep the customers happy. A common job for such cafe, but they're a hidden situation that I'm not aware yet. No one told me yet beforehand, not about her, not about midnight. Not about the rule that was never written, but broken just once. That some customers not only come for the coffee, they didn't crave for the caffeine. They come, because they always have, even if they're different than us. And they don't care if you're ready to serve them or not. Café Serene sat quietly at the edge of town, where the last flicker of streetlight gave way to trees thick, dark, and old. The kind of place you'd miss if you blinked. But for the night crowd, it was a beacon. White brick walls, glowing windows, and the faint sound of jazz humming under the hiss of espresso machines. It was peaceful. Familiar faces, students nursing laptops, long-haul drivers with glazed eyes, the occasional night shift nurse. They came for the cafe's signature combo. A hot Americano, rich and bitter, paired with a soft cinnamon pastry that melted on the tongue. I was the new barista, moved from out of town. The pay was better than I expected, especially for night shifts. My first few night shifts were slow. A couple of truckers, some students pulling all-nighters, nothing unusual. When I asked why the one who do the night shifts paid generously, the others just smiled and said, some nights just feel longer. I didn't understand what they meant. Not until midnight came. As the clock ticked past 12 o'clock, the bell above the door chimed, even though I didn't see anyone through the glass. A woman entered. The cafe was empty, only me and her. The woman wore a white blouse. Then, followed with long, white skirt that brushed the floor. Black hair down past her ribs, with thick bangs covering her eyes. Her bangs covered most of her face, but I could feel her looking. She moved quietly to the counter, no hesitation in her steps, like she'd done this 1,000 times. Soft voice, barely above a whisper, one hot espresso, one pastry. She always paid in one cash, never asked for change. Didn't say another word. Then she sat in the far corner, the one with a clear view of the woods. She stared out into the trees. I paid no attention afterwards since she acted like a regular normal customer. 15 minutes later, without a word, she'd be at the counter again. The coffee cup is empty, but she was leaving the untouched pastry behind. And then, she was gone. She left without a sound. And exactly 30 minutes later, a small group of students entered. The silence lifted, the cafe felt normal again. It happened again the next night. Same time, same order, same seat, same routine. By the third night, I knew to expect her, but I also knew not to look too long. And yet, each visit left something behind. A strange weight in the air, a chill under the floor. A sense that something else was watching her, or maybe, watching me. 2 weeks slipped by before I noticed it. The pattern, same woman, same seat, same soft whisper for her order. Same crumpled cash, always the same bill, as if pulled from the same pocket of time. But it wasn't just her. Every night she appeared, the cafe changed. The lights dimmed, but not by wattage. They just felt colder. The air turned dense, like trying to breathe underwater. Even the steady hum of the espresso machine sounded distant, muffled, like it came from another room. And time itself bent. Time desperately crawled. The 15 minutes stretched into what felt like an hour. I felt the tense while she sat in silence. Some nights, I caught myself holding my breath the entire time she sat there, as I don't want bad things happened if my rough breath disturbed her silence. I hadn't blinked, hadn't moved, just waited. I'd checked the clock 3 times, convinced an hour had passed. Unfortunately, only to see a single minute had ticked by, until she stood, empty cup in hand, leaving behind the untouched pastry. One night, after she left and the students entered as usual, they arrived with laughter, as always, like they'd broken some curfew. I asked casually, "Why do you guys always come around 1 a.m.? They looked confused, looked at one another, then back at me. "Because the cafe's always closed around midnight. You guys flip the sign and lock the door. We wait until it opens again." I felt a slow ripple under my skin. I never closed the cafe. I never touched the sign. That night, something in me turned cold. The next morning, I asked my manager. I meant it to sound casual, light. His smile dropped. He didn't answer right away, just stared at me, as if measuring how much I already knew. Then he nodded slow. "Tired. She's real." In her own way, it came out as a whisper. He sighed, rubbed at his temples. "You've been doing good, real good. Just don't forget the routine." "What routine?" I asked. He didn't answer, but he didn't need to, because something in the way he said it told me. Whatever was happening, I was now part of it. From that night on, I wasn't alone. Mr. Eddie, the manager, began showing up just before midnight. He never said much, just gave me a tired nod and went straight to the kitchen. There, he'd take out a bundle of dried flowers, crush a few petals between his fingers, and mutter a prayer I couldn't understand. I asked him once what it was for. He didn't look up. "We've been sharing this place longer than you think. Some nights, the woman didn't come. Those were the peaceful ones, and those were the only shifts that felt normal. Still, we never skipped the routine, just in case. But when she did, as the bell chimed at 12 a.m., always 12, everything changed. The lights dimmed, not from the bulbs, but like the shadows grew heavier. The temperature dropped, dry and brittle like winter breath. Even the coffee machines went quiet, as if they, too, were holding their breath. And then she entered, same as always, white blouse, white skirt brushing the floor. Long black hair, thick bangs hiding her eyes. No sound from her steps. No breeze when the door opened. Espresso, pastry, no change of order. She never looked up. She never blinked. She never spoke twice. Always the same, always cash, no change. She sat in the far corner, near the glass, facing the woods. The minutes she stayed felt stretched, like the world slowed to match her pace. She never looked up, never blinked, never moved until it was time to leave. And when she stood, she'd silently leave the untouched pastry behind, and vanish. I didn't ask questions. Not until one night when the silence got too loud. Mr. Eddie stood behind the counter, staring at the table she'd just left. He finally explained as the atmosphere was back to normal. When the cafe reopened, he didn't know that the land was used to host a roadhouse inn. Burned down one winter, no records, no survivors. But some folks whispered about a woman, always came from the woods, always arrived at midnight, always ordered coffee. He reached into the register, pulling out a tin. Inside the container, leaves. Dozens of leaves, dried, torn, old, but if you looked close, you'd see a number printed on them, faded but visible. Ink markings, faded numbers, like currency. He handed one to me. I held the leaf in my hand. It felt like paper. But wrong, drier, colder. I looked toward the far corner. The pastry still sat there, untouched, always untouched. And for the first time, I noticed something carved faintly into the surface of the table beneath it. Initials. A date. 1894. Then came the night I forgot. No flowers. No prayer. Mr. Eddie was out sick, texted late, voice raspy, saying, "Just do the routine." But I didn't. I got distracted, too tired, too confident. And by the time I looked at the clock, 12:01, the bell rang. My stomach dropped as she entered. Same clothes, same hair. The cafe had gone quiet, too quiet. No wine outside, no music from the speaker. Even the humming fridge sounded like it held its breath. She walked to the counter as usual. But this time, she looked up, eyes black as wet ink. No whites, no emotion, just depth. And then, she smiled. But this time, she looked up. Eyes black as wet ink. She smiled. She never smiled before. One hot espresso. one pastry," she said, in that same soft voice, but now it felt closer. Like it whispered straight into my ear, bypassing the space between us. My hands trembled as I worked. I dropped the first cup, burned my fingers on the second, when I finally slid the order across the counter. She didn't sit this time. She stood and waited, facing me. 5 minutes, then 10. Her coffee sat untouched. The air in the cafe felt wrong, not just cold, but charged. Like the pressure before lightning strikes. My skin tingled, my ears buzzed. Finally, she reached slowly into the pocket of her skirt and laid the money down on the counter. It was soaked, dripping. Dark water pooled around it. It hadn't been wet before. She leaned in close enough for me to smell the woods on her. The coffee was delicious. "Thank you," she whispered. "I'll visit again. Keep the change." Her lips parted slightly, and I saw it. Teeth far too many for one mouth. And then, she turned, walked out. The bell rang. But no warmth returned, no chatter, no late-night students. The air stayed still. The pastry remained untouched, and for the first time in weeks, no one came after her. I was alone, utterly alone. And the cash she left behind, it was already turning to leaves. Mr. Eddy came back the next day. He didn't ask what happened, didn't need to. He just looked at me, eyes dim, as if carrying the weight of too many midnights. "You saw her smile." I nodded. He paused, then said, quietly, "She's comfortable now. That's not good." There was a sadness in his voice I hadn't heard before. Not fear, not exactly. But a kind of sorrow, like something had shifted and could never be undone. After that night, everything changed. The midnight preparation wasn't just habit, it was ritual. We never missed the prayer, never forgot the bundle of dried flowers by the sink, never ignored the clock when it neared 12. Only the staff, the real staff, knew why. And when new staff joined, we made sure they didn't miss it either. These days, I still work the night shift. I greet the regulars. I pour the coffee. The students, the drivers, the all-nighters who filled the cafe into the early hours. They never saw her, never felt what we did. To them, Café Serene was just a cozy corner of town with good coffee and warm pastries. But for us, there was another presence, a regular, of a different kind. And if the bell rings at exactly midnight, I get the espresso and pastry ready. Set them at the counter without a word, even if I don't see anyone there. Because some guests don't come for conversation. They come because they always have, and only we, the ones who've seen her. The ones who felt that hollow, aching stillness. Only we know she's real. Whenever the woman entered, she never spoke more than her order. But the weight she carried was thick in the air. Sorrow clung to her like mist. You could feel it in your chest, like something lost, long ago, that never quite left. Some nights, even when she didn't come, we'd still feel the echo of her steps. A cold breath in the room, a pause in the music. An ache we couldn't explain. "They've got their seat." Mr. Eddy said she used to sit alone in that corner, even when the building was a roadhouse over a century ago. "Maybe she's still waiting for someone," he once murmured. "Maybe she doesn't know they're not coming." We never asked more. We never tried to fix it. That wasn't our place. Because some customers don't leave. Not really. They just wait, in the same seat, at the same hour. And we keep the cafe open for them, even if they no longer belong to this world.